Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is What I've Been Thinking with Marcus Cage, and I am your host, Marcus Cage. Um, in this video, I basically wanted to reach out and try to have a conversation with people who are not following politics or new to following politics, especially in with all that's going on with the pandemic and with the presidential election that we still have that's going on in the backdrop. Um, and so in this quick video, I will keep it quick, I promise. I want to be able to give you a short video that you can share with friends or family or other people that you want to get involved in politics. And if you feel that you have a hard way of trying to explain to them why they should care, why they should vote, even if they're extremely pessimistic, I'm going to give you a quick assessment and I guess way I feel that you could try to reach out to some of those people if you're having some difficulty. Hopefully you enjoy the video. Thank you, and hope you enjoy. Hello, and thank you for joining me. In this video, I said that I wanted to have a conversation with you on how to engage other people and show them that politics is important. I had a conversation with somebody at work the other day, and they made the statement that, you know what, I'm worried about the pandemic. This ain't about politics. Well, the problem with that whole statement is it is politics. Every issue that we think about, everything that goes on throughout our daily lives, whether it's something that affects us directly or indirectly, is politics. When you're worried about those, when you're having problems with potholes on your street, when you're complaining about maybe bridge closures that are shut down, all those things are politics. When you're worried about flooding that might happen, when you're worried about there was a storm or a tornado or fire or national disaster, and you have to apply to FEMA. If you're not paying attention to politics, you're not paying attention to the people who you're going to have to depend on at some point in time. We are all going to have to use our health care. If you're not paying attention to politics, then you're letting somebody give you the options on what to pick from versus you looking at the whole menu. I say it all the time that, especially for younger people, a lot of younger people want independence. They want to move out of the house. They want freedom to get away from their parents and family, or especially if maybe you had roommates and now you're able to get into your own place and it's just you by yourself, or maybe it's just you and a loved one, or just you and your child or children, and you're trying to start a family unit. Well, though you have went out on your own and you are living on your own, you are still being controlled by your parents. Make no mistake, if you don't follow politics, if you're not involved in politics, there's one demographic of people who are very engaged in politics. Now, maybe they're listening to a lot of the wrong sources, but they are engaged and they do vote. That's what's more important. They vote, so therefore they are still dictating decisions that affect you. If you're big on climate change and you feel it's not getting pushed along further, then those people who are older, who maybe don't know as much about climate change but are voting on other issues, they are still setting the narrative until we start to engage the large portion of the population which is not engaged in politics. I mean, in some of our highest turnout election years in recent memories, and I'm talking about over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Turnout has been about 35% to 40% at max. I mean, those have been the high turnout years. And it's not that, we have a certain amount of the population which leans towards the Republican way. There is a certain amount of population which leans towards the Democratic way. But the vast majority of us do not lean towards one or the other necessarily. There's another lane that we might fit into. Maybe we're further to the left than the Democrats. Maybe we're further to the right than the Republicans. But there's a bunch of people in this country who are not being represented in government. And they're not being represented in government because they're not speaking and they're not standing up for the issues which they care about. Every single person out there has a political issue that is important to them. And what we have to do to engage people is we got to figure out what that issue is with that individual person. If you can figure out what that issue is with that individual person, then you can give them something to start leading them towards the stream of wisdom, what goes on in the whole political world. Then you have, I get it, you have a big chunk of people who feel they're all corrupt, they're all crooked. Well, yeah, that's true. Many of them are corrupt, many of them are crooked, many of them are liars. But if you don't take the time to find out who's the liar, who's the crook, who's the criminal, then the problems only persist and continue on. I mean, think about it like this. Whether it's been us directly or someone that we've all known, all of us know someone who's with a cheater. Now, in that relationship, if the person ignored all of the signs of the cheating, what normally happens? Well, it normally gets worse, right? Well, if you nip things in the bud, then you're able to stop the problem. Now, maybe in that relationship scenario, stopping the problem might be the relationship ending, or it might be curtailing or ending that type of behavior. But if you ignore it, it's definitely not going to just resolve itself on its own. And that said, I want you guys to, your homework, go out and engage somebody that you know for a fact is not engaged in politics and figure out what their issue is. Whether it's somebody might have an affinity for black colleges, HBCUs. Well, if there's a politician who's supporting that kind of those kind of policies, then try to, attach them with that person. If there's a person who's looking for somebody who's strong on gun reform, then show them the candidates which are involved in those things. If it's somebody who has health issues and they feel like, oh, the system is all jacked up, show them the person who you feel is the champion on healthcare. If they have, say, for instance, if their issue is maybe daycare, there are candidates out there who are pushing for programs to help with things like that. Whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's domestic violence, no matter what issue or topic or subject that you think about, it is all politics. And if you want your leaders to actually do something about these issues, you have to start getting engaged. And you have to, if it's something that you're passionate enough about, if you don't see anybody else around you, then you have to become the advocate yourself. You have to be the leader. I know that's scary for some people and they don't want to do those types of things. But if there is something that you're passionate about, then you never know. Maybe there are more people around you that are just as passionate on those issues. You just have to start getting out there and trying to figure out who. With that said, I think that I summed up my thoughts well enough, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys are clever enough to be able to take those cues and take it to the next level. Hopefully, you guys are lucky in your I guess in your conversations and your attempts to try to pull people into this political sphere. I know that it is not going to be easy, and you're not going to have 100% success rate. That's not the most important part. The most important part is just trying to get as many minds, bodies, and souls engaged in the political process, because the more people who are voting, the better the policies normally turn out. The sides which normally lean towards the people normally benefit when more people come out. The people who like to take advantage of the system, like we've seen with the bailouts and like a lot of these short sales from Congress people trying to short the market, those things carry on because many of us get fed up and give up on the system. Myself personally, I'm a Bernie supporter, and just watching how things have been going in this race, how I feel it's such a clear-cut, easy. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Bernie's perfect, and in a couple other videos, I will go into issues I have with him, but it's just such a clear choice of who's offering something for you, who's offering to help your daily condition, especially for those of us who are not the most, well off. For some of those who are the middle class, the lower middle class, the working poor, there are candidates who are speaking to our needs. We just have to learn about them and be more engaged. And if we can pull more people out for these conversations, we can have a lot more weight on our side. I guess I'll leave it there. I got a couple more videos that I want to do for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and please, please, please carry on this conversation with other people who maybe they're not into politics at all. Maybe they're just new to it. Maybe they've given up on it. These are the people who we want to have these conversations with. We don't want to go with just a whole bunch of another historians and democratic socialists and anarcho-socialists. When people already have those kind of labels, they're already engaged to a degree, you can assume. So look for those people who, if you ask them, hey, do you know who Joe Biden is? If they're not, they're like, well, I think he was the vice president. That's your target audience. The person who's like, well, yeah, Obama was president, and, I think he went against somebody. What was her name? I think her name was Hillary. These are the people who I want you to have these conversations with. The people who have just tuned this all out. The people who say, well, I'm not into politics. Anybody who says I'm not into politics, I want them to be your target also, because it's not about being into politics. We all, most of us who have a job or have worked a job or, had a job in the past, understand that our paycheck is why we're there. We're into our paycheck, right? Everybody would say that they would be into their paycheck. Yes. Well, politics is the same thing. Politics is your paycheck, and you're ignoring it, just saying, well, I hope that they pay it right. When we send Congress people there, their job is to represent us and the things we need and want. Hear me again, people. Their job is to fight for the things that we need and want. It's not for propping up big bailouts for billionaires. It's not for only worrying about national defense. It is for our wants, needs, and pursuit of happiness. If the government is not doing those things, anybody who screams that, oh, socialism, this and that, or whatever, the whole point of the government by and for the people, it is supposed to work by and for the people. If we decide we want to give out free healthcare, so what? That's by and for the people. We give out money to billionaires all the time. It's time we should give out some to the rest of us.